Good afternoon, everyone. It's our absolute pleasure to invite everyone to our Noida DWC Roadshow. It's on behalf of the DPO Club and Huawei Tech, I extend a very warm welcome to everyone. Today is all about meaningful conversations around data privacy in the banking sector, which is a very important topic in today's day and age. And to formally kick things off, I would like to invite Colonel Vinod Koshi, Chairman, India DPO Club, virtually to grace the crowd and welcome everyone.
Am I audible? It's a wonderful day today to have accumulated so much of us together in Noida and then to be part of the DPO club. I know it is a critical juncture now when we are yet to be implementing the law in many forms, and we're thankful to the organizers for having provided this opportunity to the DPO club. There is no worry in terms of the implementation, though that you are aware that there is a petition in the Supreme Court placed against the constitutional validity of the bill. However, we all are aware that the journey of this TPDP has happened over many years, and as the president of the local chapters, all these chapters have actually put in endeavor to bring the word across that privacy is a right that has to be extended to me. And as being the chairman of the DPO Club All India, I extend a warm welcome to each one of you, and specifically to mention that we are in the endeavor of spreading the news of this particular new bill, and the very fact that it is in the history of India, it is one of the bills that has actually addressed an individual right exclusively as a law in the country. So hence, we all are to be part of this journey and ensure that we'll have to get this bill done in the right spirit in which the government wants us to do it. However, there are individuals, there are certain challenges which we are all instantaneous, and the beauty of Indian democracy is that there is a provision for judicial review of any law that is passed, and that is what is being exercised by the Supreme Court in this case too. Furthermore, we have embarked on adding few more courses which will be akin to what we will be doing right now. Further to that is the fact that we have embarked on academic values too. We've published a book that is part of the DPO Club. You are aware that we are an NGO trying to encourage the culture of privacy and also handhold industries to implement the law in it. So in that direction, we have come out with a book. The book is the book was of such demand that it was one of those books that was actually addressing the operationalization of the DPDP law. And we have gone into the third cycle of printing. So hence, I find that all of you should try and subscribe to this book. There's an e-version also available on Kindle. In the Amazon, we have sold out as we speak today. However, we will have the book coming out in the near future. A large amount of training that is exclusively to the industry specific to the domains in specific, and also directed towards professionals who are actually handling the privacy state. The has been organized and has been conducted a large number of them. We're trying to make it more professional in terms of having accessible assignments and also proctored examinations, so that the word goes around that the standards does exist. So I request all of you to please advertise and bring in more. That is much cheaper than the many other ones that were conducted, and it is exclusively for the Indian environment. I thank you for giving me this time and opportunity. And I welcome each one of you for this wonderful interaction which you will be having, and I'm very sure at the end of the day you will go out with large amount of knowledge and value. And we request you to please stay on and attend the whole sessions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vinod sir. Can we all get a big round of applause for our chairman? Great. With that, now I'd like to move on to Mr. Nitin Sharma, COO at Waytech, and to grace the audience with a few words and to welcome them.
Hi all, I'm Nitin and I represent Waytech. I will try to introduce ourselves in brief and explain that how we are using AI to achieve operational excellence at Waytech, right? So we are a 10-year-old growth stage company building an AI-led fintech platform with primary focus to achieve intelligence, speed and trust. As we believe, fintech's future will not be built only on capital. So our systems are future ready and our systems are future ready, and we believe that they are customer centric at scale. So operational excellence for us means real-time data-driven decision making, deep automation and embedded compliance. With this, AI is reshaping fintechs across decision making, smarter underwriting and risk, personalization for tailored financial experience, and operations moving towards self-learning systems. As we scale with AI, I think responsibility becomes non-negotiable, and explainability, fairness, and data privacy remains at core. The real differentiator, we believe the real differentiator, will not be who will be using AI, but will be who will be using AI responsibly. And that is what I think Vineet and everyone in the team is trying to make at QTech. So with this, I will open up this forum for next steps and discussions. And thank you everyone for being part of this program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nitin, for those lovely words and very insightful perspective on how operationalizing data is very important. And in regards to all the courses and the field discussed by current universities, you will be finding them soon when it's time for your DPIA exams. With that, I would like to open the forum for the first roundtable that we have, which is on consent agent open banking and account aggregators. I'd like to invite our moderator, Colonel Deepak Ji, along with our speakers, Mr. Naveen Sen, Major Pankaj Singh, Manav Monchal, and Prashant Gautam. We're very excited to hear everything that you have to say and to learn a lot. With that, I'd like to over to you.
So, good afternoon everyone. Firstly, a very warm welcome to all of you for having traveled on a holiday, because it takes a lot of courage to actually step out on holiday, but and that too specifically on a topic which is not I'll say very appealing to everyone because it is a complex I'll say sector, BFSI sector, and the question and the insights which are going to be there, they are specific to BFSI sector more or less. So although topics like which we are going to cover subsequently like the DPI and other things, they are relevant in other, I'll say, places also. But when we speak of BFSI, it has certain regulations, master directions from RBI, things from SEBI, things from ADI, things from PFRDA, then all other things which are the, I'll say, statutory requirements from Government of India. They also are over and above. So it's a complex thing when you speak of BFSI. So a very warm welcome that you have, reached here. Besides the round table and other thing, I'll tell you there is coffee and other some snacks also laid out outside. So it's going to be till 4 o'clock, I guess. So kindly feel free to pick up a cup of coffee or whatever you wish to have. So with that, I just request all my fellow panelists to kindly introduce themselves one by one.
Good afternoon, all of you, and thank you to people to privilege to present here as a part of this media. And really, our data privacy is the biggest challenge in spite of the law equality that banks and financial institutions still struggling how to implement the act. More or less, some of the banks are in this space, some of the banks are not starting from ready also. A lot of challenges are there for the banking sector because they are consuming more than 2% of the applications that handling the play. So that's the biggest challenge basically in the case of the bank. Say right notification, how the things will happen, all the notifications. So that's the biggest challenge basically for this question.
Hello everyone, I am Major Pankaj, now retired, and I am handling this data privacy and data security for NICA. But the reason why we are sitting over here is first Colonel Deepak, who has gathered all of us over here. But the topic because of which we are sitting here is data privacy. I think 90% of India's population is not actually becoming serious or taking this topic seriously. At least till May 2027. Everybody is thinking कि okay हो जाएगा चलता है इससे पहले भी चल रहा था, but that is not the case. You will get to know the complexity of this topic and complexity of actual steps which you have to follow once you start that journey. Whenever you will try and think okay I am near to the finish line, you will get to know okay there are 10 more bouncers which are coming to your place. As simple as that discovering your, just now I was having this conversation about discovery, data discovery. Just go and try and discover whatever PI is there in your ecosystem. You will be flabbergasted knowing, okay, in my cloud, in my local drive, okay, what about APIs, what about my buckets, my RDSs, everywhere right now, even in fintech. It's a distributed environment. You have absolutely no idea how many replicas of sensitive data we are handling. And since this is the first time introduction of a data privacy law, an act which has come to this country, is going to take it's literally in short some method task. No knowledge, there is no I'll say no pink slips over here, no correct answer. It is just whatever we can gather from each other's knowledge that is going to save us. That is about me.
Hi, I am Vinny Daniel, CTO and CISO of QTech, and I am actually filling in for Mr. Manav in case you are trying to map the image. So my primary responsibility, apart from managing infra, is also managing PII data and the innovation that happens, as Internet rightly put it forward, with AI comes responsibility. And being a fintech, we are managing a lot of PI data, a lot of personal data of customers, which is fed into the models as well. So that's and the BPDA coming into the picture that brings that responsibility that it has to be used responsibly.
Hello, I am Prashant and I am leading practicing security governance in the portal. So I am more responsible for technical knowledge of requirement. And we have created the product which helps you with the complete privacy journey, how you start from the data discovery or other than data discovery and lead to the automation of flow path, which helps you to understand what AI you have, how the process is purposely created in the system. Then the complete flow automates you to know party and discuss system. So we are mostly helping in complete understanding of how the privacy journey will take place, how the consent will take place, how the consent journey will take place, how you will handle the data of the user that is gathered from the various sources like the REST APIs. So we are handling all that part to help the organizations for complicated specification, how you can fulfill the requirement of the
So now that we have learned about the panel, we have people from, bank, data privacy of multiple applications for governments and services here. Then Pankaj is here, who's in a way, related with, I'll say, fintech also, because at some stage the organization for which he works, it gets integrated with payment gateway, and there is some kind of relation as to how the payment will get processed after somebody has, put a purchase order for a card what they have selected in my card. And then Vineet sir is handling it day in and day out here for NBFCs. He has experience there, and then we have somebody from the product also. So maybe I think this is the best kind of, I say, panel what we could have asked for. So now when we speak of, the FSI sector, we have something like RBI's account aggregator framework, which is there. Then we have the digital lending guidelines, and now that DPDP is also there. So my first question is to sir only, from Punjab Singh Bank, sir, that how do you feel that the account aggregator consent artifact that would be able to satisfy the DPDP consent, or will the fintechs or the BFSI sector organizations, they would require something more to do with that? They need some modification in the existing account aggregator, framework. And I'll also request you, sir, if you can throw some light, some opening, description of what is account aggregator for these families.
Account aggregator, what I understood, and that basically the transmission between financial investors. But that and other things apply to the entire ecosystem. And a lot of industry will come under this plan. And what we talk about the data is basically complete timeline. You talk about the data. Account aggregator is one part, or part of the data governance system, but not a part of the entire data. What's the data life cycle, wherever we collect the data, we store the data. And while we storing data, we need some processing. And after processing, we need to share the data. And that's where decision, archive of part of the data and data discussion. So this is the entire life cycle of DPDP. Then DPDP Act, if we talk about the major core concept, of consent management. Then whatever the customer or anybody or individual who is a part of the management community, they have some right as per the right to access, right to modifications, right to raise, right to nominate, to right to clearance. These are not part of the basically account aggregator. And the liability also in DPDP Act, data significant or data visibility is too much. And maybe consider it not just so far, the definitely Act may be considered as a significant data because they are handling a large number of people. Because as per the Act, the rules says basically that is whatever the organization is handling the large amount of the customer data, that will be considered or classified as a significant. But once we talk the account, yes, some of the part of the concerns it should be specific concern, purposeful concern, timeless concern, one-time concern. That is also come in the basically DPD, but that is not complete DPD. If you have to take, if you have taken already concern, you have to manage the entire life cycle of the data until unless the relation is diabetes is different, the protein is different, within 72 hours is the least nothing happening to the data. You have to manage the log for 1 year or getting the part of the DPD, or part of the account aggregator. Account aggregator will just transfer the data, but the liability could be different. The liability comes on the fintech part of it. So the fintech part is there because as the DPD access to the person who's collecting the organization, who's collecting the data. The fintech is collecting the data to processing the data. And FI is basically a bank would be a data processor. So more and more liability will come on fintech. Definitely account aggregator will be a part of this service. There is data breach at account aggregator level, that is also responsible. But once the data is transferred to the basically fintech, so that main concern or main basically thing will become on basically fintech. As far as the concern about the DPD, the fintech company need to take care of a lot of things because the bank is securing the data, a lot of security control, RBI guidelines, other things are there. So the fintech need to take care once they are storing the data, they are processing the data. And that in this case, in account aggregator, bank will be a basically processor, it will be transmitted. They will be liable once the data is reached at their end. But if the fintech is storing the data, then they are no liable because they are initiating the things. Because the purpose is that which purpose is data was right. More or less we talk about it's a transmission of PID for any data between the bank or any other thing. Suppose I am a basically person, I have an account in the bank and I want to utilize that one account in another. Normal purpose is that we have to download our statement, we have to upload the statement in another. But these things account aggregated, basically they don't need to download the statement, automatically data is transferred secure from one bank to account bank. And the benefit of this is that once the customer they don't need to download any other thing, mechanically so much speed and fast, it automatically data is transferred from A line to B line and they will be able to get that to the bank. But once the DPDP app will come in this picture, bank, account aggregator and concern management, all the things will be liable, the more liability of the significant distribution taking fintech will be considered as a significant. We have to take each and everything, the necessary controls, what are the things are there, like the security point of view, we talk about encryption, masking, and access management also. But these things need to take care of the fintech.
Thank you very much, sir. And as sir has rightly brought out, account aggregator is primarily a transmission medium which facilitates between, the financial data, the data which is required primarily maybe for analytics or onboarding is to the FIPs or the financial FIUs, the financial information users, whereas the FIPs are also there, which are actually providing this. So FIP can also be an account aggregator. So my next question is to Pankaj, wherein what sir has left, that how it would be transmitted. My question to Pankaj is that in the account aggregator ecosystem, in your opinion, who should be considered the data fiduciary? I'll request your, views on this, whether it will be the financial information user or the financial information provider or the account aggregator itself. So who in your opinion would actually, be more suitable for calling out to be as a data fiduciary?
Yes, let's start this with a differentiation between GDPR and DPDP. Let's not go to NBFC account aggregated ecosystem, but the main difference which I want you all to envisage is there is no joint controller over here in DPDP. There is nothing known as joint controller in DPDP. It is a linear data flow model which says a controller, a processor. But in normal layman terms, if I try and explain you this account aggregator example, there is a I'll say a system which is known as FIP, Financial Information Provider, say a bank. Then there is someone FIU who is processing some users' data, customers' data. The third is account aggregator. You can call it as a transmission medium who is responsible for this transmission from customer till bank and then to the fintech company. And the consent mechanism is account aggregator's responsibility. So over here, let's think upon who is the one who is deciding what is the purpose for which data is being collected. It is FIU. It is collecting data, say for credit, say for lending loan, for anything. This entity, this fintech or the FIU, this is responsible for its processing the means and the purpose of processing. So primary data fiduciary is going to be FIU. I don't think so, any doubt. But now what about FIP, the bank? It is storing users' data. So it is an independent data fiduciary for the data which it is storing. Account aggregator, I don't think since it's a transmission medium, it is providing and it is used for the entire consent management that it is any kind of fiduciary. But over here, since we doesn't have this joint controllership kind of agreement which we see in GDPR, and then there is difference between NBFC and DPDP. The primary data fiduciary will be FIU, and independent data fiduciary will be FIP. This is like this distributed ecosystem between three entities. It can't be dealt with whatever is written in black and white. We'll have to analyze what is actually the meaning of the act, who is processing. It is not dependent on the labels. That you are doing XYZ, I'll call you as a data fiduciary, I'll call you as a processor. It is up to the purpose. For what PI data you are collecting. Are you the one who is calling on the shots that, okay, I want to do credit scoring, that's why I am collecting your data. By virtue of the work which you are doing on that data, you become primary data.
Thank you, Pankaj. A follow-up question is that, we have decided who would be the data fiduciary or who would be, the processor or maybe controller in this case, as we call, and there is no joint controller. So next follow-up question is that if a customer now, decides to withdraw his consent to an account aggregator, then what do you feel that how quickly must the downstream financial institutions, they should, stop processing the shared data now that the DPDP is also invoked? So, Pankaj, I request your views on this.
See, logically, if I am taking a consent from you that I will be doing XYZ activity from your PI data, and once you withdraw that consent, logically it should stop at that right moment. But then a practicality, then comes the real world. In this distributed environment of fintech, in this API-driven systems, there are multiple APIs being into play. We are collecting data, providing it to somebody else. You can't practically stop that immediately. Now, how can we resolve this issue? The first thing is, at least we can stop any fresh collection of data from the moment that consent is withdrawn. Suppose that there should not be any something close to near real-time processing of that data. Any new data injections should stop in case of that data subject. No near real-time processing of that data. Then what about the existing data for that user? Consent management, it looks such a simple thing, but theoretically, logically, it should happen once a consent is withdrawn. For example, no promotional messages, no promotional communication. The moment data subject says no to that, he or she should not receive any communication post that. That is the underlying principle over here. But to achieve that in our environment is a huge task, because there is something in backend where you will have to implement that flagging system that, okay, if on the basis of consent it should get flagged or it should get stop, so that no matter whichever third party tools or whether you are utilizing, it should not be governed on the basis of third party tools. It should be governed on the basis of your architecture, how your databases are, how are you collecting the data, how are you managing that entire life cycle of data. It should be governed by that. For example, if a cohort of 100 individuals is being fed to any of the platform, any of the third party, be it for communication, be it for loyalty program, be it for XYZ, anything, whichever processing activity you can think of in terms of your particular company, whatever processing activities you can think of. You should not work upon that principle. I'll go and change it into that third party, because third party vendors, third party tools will keep on changing. Your architecture needs to be developed or changed in that way that it needs to happen in your environment. So answering to that question, in near real time, any new data ingestion should stop. No processing of data should happen of existing data. That much can be achieved immediately. That's not a Herculean task. But the existing data, what about the existing data in terms of that user? For that, you need to map the entire PI data in your environment. I think that's how how I think, and that's nothing to do.
Very valid point by sir, and It is, one of the 12 public sector banks of India, Punjab and Sindh Bank. And if I go in terms of size, maybe, we have bigger banks in public sector like State Bank of India, Punjab National Bank, Union Bank, Canara Bank and so on. So what sir is saying is just a tip of the iceberg that he is facing these kind of challenges. So when we speak at a bigger level, maybe, at the entire CKYC level or the Insurance Information Bureau level where there is data of almost 240 crore or maybe 100, because sir's 200 applications are there, similarly other people's pain points are there. But when we speak at a higher pedestal, there is maybe 200 crore plus data points which are there and multiple entries are there in that. So building upon that question where Pankaj and sir has very beautifully answered, I will go on to our last panelist here. My question to you is that, we discussed that the consent is withdrawn. Now, in this case, suppose if a consent has been withdrawn, but the, fintech has already derived insights, they have done their analytics, the consent has been taken up, has been withdrawn, but the analytics and other things have already been done by the fintech company or the NBFC provider, NBFC which is there. So what do you feel that what should happen to that data which has been, derived out of that, whatever that should be dropped, or it is legal to, continue with that because it's not actually the data, it is insights derived from the data. So is there some clarity on this and what is your viewpoint on this?
Sure. So, if we talk about in terms of the points defined in consent, right, the first thing is the consent collection. Correct. From the various platforms, it is RAM, FTK, DBC, or APIs. Once the consent is collected, then the second thing comes in the consent withdrawal. Consent withdrawal can be done from the preference center. That once a user goes to the preference center and withdraw the consent, we get this information in our ecosystem that the consent is withdrawn by the user. The third thing comes to that we have to inform the downstream systems who are using these consents. But the things comes here, this is a consent life cycle. This will start from the consent collection and then the withdrawal and the deletion and whatever other operations happen in between. We have to register these audit logs in our system manually. Once these audit logs is created, which is immutable in their nature, these are the things which will be provided to the USP or which will ask what was the complete journey when the consent was collected. So we will provide these information which helps our organization to whether what the consent situation was, whether it was withdrawn or in processing or it was not consented by the user. So we can help on that part. Actually, we will help on that part. It creates the immutable
In terms of AI as well. So my question to you is that does the aggregation of financial data across institutions through the aggregator framework, what do you feel that too now, with the tadka of AI which is there, one was the conventional thing which was there, already a lot of things were derived out of that. Now we have AI which is also further giving deeper insights and analytics into this. So what will there be some new risks of automated profiling under these laws, sir, what we are facing today? What all risks you foresee now in light of AI and DPDPA and ambiguity there?
So with every innovation, still comes with risk. Now we cannot ignore risk or we cannot stop innovating. So it has to go hand in hand. We have to take care of this, we have to mitigate this, and as we consume play DPDs coming to the picture, the main concern or main task of being an organization, responsible organization, is using AI responsibly. So it's similar to having a car driving on the road. It's up to you whether you're driving it rashly or it's you're obeying all the laws. This is similar to that. So we make use of all the secure frameworks that are available, and we make sure that the AI is not fed into the LLMs or any sort of AI. It's just the data from which we can derive insights. Right? There's no point of using AI for LLMs or for AI unless there's some specific use case. Unfortunately, unfortunately, we haven't come across such a use case where we are using name or such things for deriving insights. So, other question?
So sir, my question is that, there is constant pressure from operation side, from marketing side, from other, business verticals that dump it, you just give us insights. There is now that we have, given you budget for AI, also just do something and help us increase the revenue. So you are the custodian of data now, that entire thing is coming to you as CISO, and at many places CISO is also either, directly DPO or substituting for DPO. So what do you feel that, there is going to be some kind of risk in near future because of this chaotic situation which we are in today?
Again, the usage of AI comes with its own risk. Now we have to use it responsibly. There's a consistent pressure from other departments for insights, how we can derive sales, how we can improve marketing campaigns, how operations can increase sales. But at the same time, being responsible for the data, our job is to make sure that the PI of the data that comes under the DPDA isn't misused, doesn't floats around the organization for misuse. So either we mask it, we encrypt it, and we just derive the insights which are useful for a particular campaign or mission or task, and post that we stop usage of that particular data. For example, user gives a consent, KYC consent for a loan, right? Then it has to be used only for loan. It shouldn't be used for cross-selling or for selling any mutual funds or credit card or XYZ product. It has to be for loan only. So if a company or our department wants to cross-sell something, then they have to be another consent, explicit consent, or it has to be part of the original consent, wherein it is explicitly mentioned that you are giving consent for A, B, C. That has to be there.
So we have seen, repeatedly that consent is the thing which is going to be there, but then after consent there is, especially in these kind of things, there is consent withdrawal. But sir had said that, in RBI's, I'll say guidelines, it is there that the financial data can be retained for 10 years. But my question to Naveen sir, with his vast experience, is sir, that if a, FIU or financial information user organization misuses data which it has received through the account aggregator, then who would be responsible under the DPDPA, sir? And if there is a breach from the FIU side, then who would be the person who should be reporting?
We have maintained a control. If we maintain a law properly and we can justify because we have maintained a control, we have a proper law, and the data is not used and by and out, and the same with FIU and same with account. Account aggregated action for that, but the FIU and FIU account aggregator out. Before the first leg is completed, second leg is not complete. Once the thing will be completed proper, then the person who has to inform the rate of collection code within the 24 hours, and the main liability will be applied to liquidation. तो DPDP बैंक की वजह से जो आज डेटा कलेक्ट कर रहा है, जो प्रोसेस कर रहा है, उसी की जिम्मेदारी है कि डेटा की इन्फॉर्मेशन को इतनी जो है सेकेंडरी प्रोसेसर आपको रिपोर्ट करेगा, पर फाइनली रिपोर्टिंग लाइबिलिटी इफ यू डू नॉट इन्फॉर्म द 250 not informed in the current.
Thank you very much, sir. Now that we have, heard a lot of things about BFSI, we all nowadays are heavily into e-commerce also, and we have the right person here from Nykaa who is delivering from end to end.
आप डिस्कवर को कर लीजिए, तो डिस्कवर के बाद आपके पास 120 GI डेटा based on the logic of the tool. But how will you justify? Who will justify? Is there any framework to do? पहले करना क्या है? डिस्कवर तो हो गया, तो डिस्कवर में क्या 100 GI मांगो, 200 GI मांगो, और DPDP एक्टिव होता है जिससे आप आइडेंटिफाई हो गए तो GI डेटा होगा। कॉम्बिनेशन के साथ कर दोगे, कस्टम ID नॉट a GI डेटा, बट नेम के साथ जुड़ रहा हो GI डेटा होगा। हर नंबर 10 नंबर है, बट आपके केस में, बैंक के केस में आपने नोन नहीं डाल सकते, गारंटर का भी जो डेटा वो GI डेटा। So a lot of other things are there which are.
My question is, you can.
Yes.
So as you mentioned about the framework, are we talking about the need to have a data governance framework also?
I am not talking data governance framework. I am talking the entire data flow to implement that DPDP. कल तो मैं कोई भी कंसर्न प्लेटफॉर्म लेके आ रहा हूँ, तो मैं मॉडिफाई के लिए कैसे करूँगा? मेरा इकोसिस्टम में फ्लो, मेरा क्या कहते हैं डेटा वेयरहाउस से कैसे करेगा, ईमेल से कैसे कंजन करेगा, मार्केटिंग में मेरे लोगों को ईमेल पे जाना पड़ेगा, वहाँ पे डीएल पे जाना पड़ेगा, मेरे डेटा वेयरहाउस पे जाना पड़ेगा, मेरे कॉन्टैक्ट सेंटर पे जाना पड़ेगा, थर्ड पार्टी का कैसे करूँगा, क्लाउड का कैसे करूँगा? और मैंने बहुत सारी इवेंट अटेंड की, इंग्लिश इज वेरी गुड, डेटा एनोमिनेशन कर देंगे, एनक्रिप्शन कर देंगे, मास्किंग बैंक में नहीं हो रहा है, अब होता भी नहीं है डेटा एनोमिनेशन और टोकनाइजेशन। इट्स नॉट इजी टास्क, मेरी यूपीआई की ट्रांजेक्शन की लिमिट लेटेंसी बढ़ जाएगी। इंप्लीमेंट करना बहुत आसान है ये चीजें, बेसिकली जितना लगाओ, कितनी एप्लीकेशन में करूँगा, कैसे करूँगा, क्या फ्रेमवर्क रहेगा, सॉल्यूशन। अभी मार्केट में प्रॉब्लम्स क्या होती है? OEMs are there, good OEMs are there, but they know their work. They don't know the banking industry, how the banking industry is working. What are the challenges for the banking industry? Even with the big four, we have discussed so many things. They are still on the working on that part. So IB is also working for that part. And the timeline we are approaching, it's not easy task basically. So डिस्कवर तो कर लिया है, EI का डेटा कितना है वो भी आइडेंटिफाई, किसने अप्रूव कराना है, स्टॉक में 40 कराने, 20 कराने, 50 कराने, वो कहीं ना कहीं तो लिमिट करना पड़ेगा। उसके बाद उसको जब डिस्कवर हो गया है, उसको प्रोटेक्ट कैसे करना है, इंक्रिप्शन करना है, मास्किंग करना है। अभी उसी टेबल में अगर आप इंक्रिप्शन मास्किंग लगाएंगे तो किसी से लगाने लगेगा, सब बंद कर दिया है सोने की। पर प्रैक्टिकल चैलेंज हमसे तो ये सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज है कि राइट आर्किटेक्चर अप्रोच क्या है, क्या मुझे एक एमडीएम की लेयर बनानी है, क्या मुझे एक फायरवॉल बनाना है, जब वहाँ से किया है तो जाएगा नहीं घुस जाएगा, क्योंकि सारी एप्लीकेशन के अंदर चेंज करना नेटवर्क इन्फोसिस होता है, तो मेरी यानी वो सिस्टम व्हाट इज यूजिंग, क्योंकि मैंने जब मैं एनालाइज किया डेटा 150 और 200 टेबल्स आते हैं, वेयर किया डेटा इज हाउ यू विल डू इट टू द एपीआई, क्या एपीआई स्टैक क्वेरी से तो नहीं होगा, एडिट क्वेरी या आर्काइव क्वेरी से तो नहीं होगा, डेटा इंटीग्रिटी का इशू आएंगे। अब जनरली क्या है, जैसे OEM सजेस्टिंग की जिस रेजर टिकट, तो मैंने जो स्टैटिक है मोर देन करोड़ सब इतना भी है, गेटिंग डेली 1 lakh, हाउ मेनी मेनी मोर इज रिक्वायर्ड टू मॉडिफाई acknowledge the data principle data. This is the biggest challenge. Automation में कर नहीं पा रहा हूँ, रिक्वेस्ट में आएंगी तो मैं उसको कैसे करूँ, कितनी एप्लीकेशन से करूँ, कितनी लोगों को करूँ, कितनी मैन पावर चाहिए, 1 लाख कोई पर एक एप्लीकेशन 11 लाख ट्रांजेक्शन होना होती है। मतलब ये चैलेंज मैंने पीपल का कि भाई ये कहीं ना कहीं किसी चीज़ को कोई ना कोई सर्टिफाइड तो करे, आईबी सर्टिफाइड करे, इंडस्ट्री सर्टिफाइड करे कि ये फ्रेमवर्क रहेगा, इकोसिस्टम ऐसे रहेगा, ये रहेगा। बेसिक एंटिटी तो चेंज रहेगी ना, आपका एग्री लेयर बनेगी या तो या एक बोलेगा कि इकोसिस्टम में सेंट्रलाइज लेयर बनेगी, सिक्योरिटी फायर वाला की तरह उसको इतना मिल जाता है, वैलिड हो गया, जबकि वो डेटा जाएगा। अब मुझे डेटा वेयर हाउस को डेटा देना है, MIS को डेटा देना है, क्लाउड पे डेटा देना है, कैसे कैसे कितनी जगह कंट्रोल।
Lot of ambiguity as we were discussing earlier. The DPG is yet to come out. There are lot of FAQs which are to be framed. So at this juncture, what Sir has very cheerfully told is the pain point actually in the industry. So what he also said was कि अंग्रेजी तो ठीक है, but then when it comes to implementation, there are lot of things which are to be kept in mind. And with the DPG also not there, it's very difficult for him or for anybody, in India, to be answering anything with, I'll say 100% conviction that this is the right way to do, because there is no right way to do. There are broad guidelines which are left open for interpretation, and when we speak of regulatory bodies, they generally don't give it very, explicitly, because the moment they give it to you explicitly, you won't move ahead of that. So it is always appropriate technical controls, appropriate administrative controls as per the risk of the organization. If we speak of, say, SEBI, so they have a graded cyber security framework, because they can't be saying now, if I say Punjab and Sindh, it has a different, level of customer base, the number of applications which are running, the overall bank size, then we have SBI, then we have, say, Catholic Syrian Bank, then we have maybe, HDFC. So I can't say today that this is the set of controls, like this across the board, because some small banks may end up their entire 5-year revenue on just meeting that, expectation of RBI. Similarly, in the AMC industry, these mutual fund and other people who are there from SEBI side. Similarly, in insurance sector, the government of India also, while laying down these guidelines, keeps it in mind that all the people of various data, if you speak of now consent managers also, there also they have given, I think, 2 crore or 5 crore something, that should, the net worth should be more than that. So they give a chance to everybody. So they won't mandate anything like this, that this is the thing and you just do like this, and if you do like this, then all your mistakes will be forgiven.
One of the good example, but I again take a few कंसेंट मैनेजमेंट प्लेटफॉर्म बंडल यूनिवर्सिटी स्पेसिफिक होना। अब मुझे ये बताइए कंसेंट की फीस कैसे दिखेगी? मेरे बैंक के अंदर मोर देन 500 सर्विसेज हैं जो यूज कर रहे हैं। बल्कि वो कहता है मैंने FD खोल ली, मैंने RD खोली है, मैंने लॉकर खोली है, तो क्या मैं फिनेंशियल को बनाऊंगा और कंसेंट की FD के लिए उसकी स्कीम ऑप्शन है कि FD के लिए मैं कंसेंट दे रहा हूँ, अब मैं लॉकर के लिए कंसेंट दे रहा हूँ। वहाँ तो GDPR में तो आपने ग्रुप करके बंडल कर दिया, बट इन दिस केस तो वी आर हैविंग मोर देन 200 प्लस सर्विसेज। How many services will be clubbed? How many services will be grouped? I don't know. वही है, they don't know. क्या करना है सर आप बताइए। We are discussing on that part also.
Right, sir. Actually, what I'm saying, what we are discussing, actually, the total discussion is around our finance industry and some of topics which Pankaj has touched upon was on e-commerce. I would also like to talk about health and insurance industry as well as our education industry, because they are also getting detailed private information, right? And I think the timeline which the regulators have given to us, that earlier it was 1.5 years, now into 1 year. Even what the problem is, we know why we have to do this. We have to do something to protect private information. But the problem is what to protect. What Nadeem sir was saying, what like करना क्या है? कौन सा private information है? I am telling you a geographical information. Your tagging is also private information, knowing your exact location. Your PIN number is affecting your PIN number. number and with combination of your mobile number and geotagging is actually pointing you where you are, right? So there are a lot of things. So, like Nika is an e-commerce. My company also do e-commerce and I am from manufacturing. So what we are also I करना क्या management से उसको करो उसके बाद.
I'll agree here and I'll support him. And when we speak today, we have gathered here for BFSI and people who work in BFSI and have worked in other organizations. They would agree that BFSI is still better,
Yes, yes.
organized, because I think other than consent is also there. If I speak of CKYC, bank opening, account opening and all that, some kind of consent is there. But when we speak of other sectors like sir has said, education, so there are colleges who have a alumni list of, ranging from 1956 onwards. Their fathers have passed out from that school college and their grandchildren are also passing out from there and they have that entire data, but they have no clue as to, how they have stored it, where they have stored it, and who all is having access to it. So when we speak of BFSI, it is still better organized than I'll say all the sectors in the country, because RBI had taken a lead in SEBI, PFRDA, IDI. They have been at the forefront because finance is, in a major way I'll say pillar of the country. Today, if the financial system collapses, everything will collapse. The education will also stop. Hospitals will also stop, because if there is no fee payment, then everything will stop. So when we speak of BFSI, by virtue of being the leader in, I'll say, compliance, they have all the controls in place, barring 2-3 which are peculiar to DPDP. That's the way DPDP wants that to be implemented. Otherwise, they are still in a very healthy shape. There are other sectors where it is complete, thunderstorm going on as to who will hit what.
There is much right video on the financial sector and implementing security. Reality is there, especially right and firewall, core firewall, perimeter firewall, that become big tech company. That is one key major that for that. Then having infrastructure. But yes, concentrate on content management acknowledgement is the biggest challenge for the downstream. And definitely we are closing to POC and we spend that part of it. We are exploring the opportunities that are data protection of public sector and private sector, and we find out right way to implement on so that we can have this data principle plus to gain knowledge and to implement that.
Right, sir.
One thing I just want to add
I'm
not very, very in fact, I believe that this is the main problem. People don't know why people don't know what to protect it, because many kind of people are not coming into this domain. I'll not confuse the audience, but if somebody has learned machine learning, very basic is the attributes, activities of attributes. The moment you identify those attributes, then inferences come into it, then algorithm come into it. Whenever you are collecting a consensus is what? You are asking someone to give, say, first, second, third, fourth, 5, 6, 7 attributes. Now, what that attributes can be used to infer something has to brainstorm. If you tell a DPO who is actually protecting the data, I think it's a wrong answer. If you are telling a legal guy to tell me, it's a wrong answer. The right kind of person, actually the one who can understand data and inferences out of that data, will actually help. Yesterday also I have attended one of the elite DPO class. Lots of such people. I realize right person, right people, not sitting and not actually trying to solve it.
I am working IT, security, infra, operation, everything. All the legal process now, study
What is the threat you deal with? You threat which you have to do that केस बन जाएगा 250 करोड़ का आपको फाइन एक थ्रेट आपको मिल रहा है
real
but
threat
actually real threat is something different.
Real threat is, I'm telling you one example. Like let me put an example of e-commerce right now, because this example will be very different. Finance का तो सबको पता है. Address and name and phone number. These parameters only very good. You can see lot of things from this. shadow copy of such information is getting created. आज मेरा एक वेंडर है जो मैं कोई सामान बेच रहा हूँ और मैंने किसी सप्लाई चेन के लिए किसी वेंडर को हायर किया, बोला वैसे shadow copy from the moment they are pulling data from the API, the system API, right? अब वो डेटा और भी आगे जाएगा इन डिजिटल फॉर्म में, वो कोरियर है ये स्टोरी वो डेटा, तो there is a complete change. So the information flow is happening, the thread is वो जा कहाँ है, issues के through, that is actually the thread. इसी का
problem on the sub processor which you need to shadow like जो करना है करता है. It is not that is not your main headache. Headache what your sub processor is handling till the time your contractual agreement depends. Sub you need to ensure that these are the current safeguards which you have to implement in your environment. Only if those safeguards are there, I have a agreement of the working relationship with you. If you have done that, your headache subsides. It is not your headache that you will go into this sub-processor's environment and you will say, like for an example, again, as right now we are only having discussion around data privacy, but it is your job to tell your tech team, your engineering, your other teams that what needs to be done. Tokenization, encryption, masking. No, it's not that difficult. It is about the approach. Bring a vault. Start tokenizing and de-tokenizing. Not everybody needs a need to know basis. Not everybody needs to view the PII. What happens when your customer support service, they address something, what do they see? Last 4 digit of XYZ, last or starting of your email ID or something like that, need to know basis. It doesn't mean that you are exposing that PII data. Not everywhere a DPO needs to implement things on ground, but he needs to tell the respective stakeholders that this needs to happen. About sub-processor, make your DPA agreement, make your contractual agreement that good, that valid, that thing is covered. For example, PDPA. There is no adequacy decision, there is no standard contractual clause, there is no BCR. Then what? Will you stop your business? Will you, I'll say, not carry out any DPA or anything? What is the next solution? Or will you wait till the time UAE starts with adequacy decision in BCC or SCC agreement? No. The next solution is make your DPA that strong on the basis of contractual clauses that it covers you, it covers your business. That start with the transfer impact assessment. Do that assessment so that regulatory and auditors, you satisfy them. That is how I think you should approach it, not by DLP, MDM. These are part of a bigger plan. It is not something that DLP can solve everything, an email gateway can solve everything, but it can solve a part of the problem. For that, I think entire architecture or like governance framework it was talking about, that governance framework needs to be there. Not on paper, in actual practicality on ground it needs to be there.
So I have a question for Naveen. So firstly, thanks for the valuable insights for picking out what are the technical issues like in the database we have selectivity, mask or encrypt the field. But sir, if you see GDPR was ahead of us 5-6 years ahead of us in time, and the European banks and other financial institutions have already moved on. They are full compliance. So isn't it worth doing a comparative analysis of their scenario vis-a-vis our scenario, and rather than reinventing the wheel and going into the nitty-gritty with ourselves, we have a precedent already with us. I'm sure somebody would have done this before. Is that if you can throw some light on this?
Account opening is a key one option, all the account opening. That is up to manage the proper. Yes, I'm not saying that I think it must be legal or not possible. I think your organization downstream application, that's the biggest challenge. We have to do some DPR, business process management. We have to look after what are the things that we do, and then we have to figure out. But if it should be ready available with the big four who is working on that part, they are consulting with us, it should be ready available in the framework. Architecture is an ऐसे architecture high level diagram है उसको आपका कंसल्ट प्लेटफॉर्म से आएगा कंसल्ट प्लेटफॉर्म के बाद आपकी इंटीग्रेशन होगी ओपन ऐप होगी आप ओपन ऐप में आप लैब में लॉगिन करोगे वहाँ पे कंसल्ट प्लेटफॉर्म में रहेगी वहाँ पे वो सेलेक्ट करेगा अकाउंट ओपनिंग अकाउंट ओपनिंग के लिए कंसल्ट है डिलीशन है तो डिलीशन के लिए वन कंसल्ट किया देन इसके बाद जो कंसल्ट आएगी नीचे आ जाएगी पर्टिकुलर एप्लीकेशन में टिकट्स ओपन हो जाएगी माई कंसल्ट इधर ये साइड पे ओपन हो जाएंगे मेरे पास मोर देन 3 से 4 करोड़ अकाउंट है और मेरे पास 50 लाख 40 लाख एप्लीकेशन आई तो मेरे बैकएंड में क्या करेगा एक टिकट को और ऑटोमेशन का प्रॉब्लम ऑटोमेशन में मैंने एक टू डेटा आर्काइव और डिलीट के मॉडिफाई नहीं करते आप पहले मॉडिफाई की बात करते पहले से थिंग मेकिंग प्रोसेस है कि ऑल ऑफ द थिंग विल बी अवेलेबल इन फ्रंट ऑफ द स्क्रीन क्या कैसे मॉडिफाई करेंगे पहले इट शुड बी क्लियर कि आप बैकएंड में नेम है लास्ट नेम मॉडिफाई करेंगे ईमेल मॉडिफाई करेंगे आधार नंबर मॉडिफाई करेंगे उसका प्रोसेस मॉडिफाई करने के बाद टिकटिंग करनी है तो बैकएंड के प्रोसेस है तो कि वो आधार क्राइटेरिया के ऑटोमेशन होता है तो मेरे साइड के जब वो अगर यही होता तो समझो कि सर्टिफाइड नहीं होता तो फिर इस ऑटोमेशन पे होगा एक के दूसरा नहीं बॉडी करेगा बट लागू मैनुअली चीजें करने के लिए अगर चीजें लाइन पे करेंगे तो 40 लाख 50 लाख डेटा डिजिटल के इनकम में लेकिन तो ठीक है ठीक तो लाइन रिकॉर्डिंग
manage multiple years. He's saying that I will provide you a model, you can API, and only thing which I have to do as a user is I have to give my consent to this. यानी वो मेरा एक एप्लीकेशन बन जाएगा और उसके बाद मैं करूँगा for whatever application. And it was in connecting over where I can see that these are the applications and these are different things. So now it is between that aggregator and TCS and the company who is extending you the service. That will actually help you. I think there's something which is going on with the ability to say something. And TCS is the partner.
That is happening.
Apply for consumer. Apply for consumer. License.
I'm saying because in the 500 people they have applied for it, but UCS has been done. This is what I do.
You can be there for last 2 years. Yes, you will see various more shortages last year. Since the joint
So what I was asking was the framework required for these kind of customers. So it is already there in the pipeline. People are looking at and it might come with the
I think for the banking something like that later as
So with this, ladies and gentlemen, I will now request you to kindly, look back at the tea, coffee and some snacks. And I will thank my fellow panelists for all the insights they have shared with all of us here. And a big round of applause for our panelists. So we assemble after lunch break or session for the DPIA session, right? Wherein we will be learning how to do DPIA post this particular thing.
Sir, I have a question.
We can connect during the lunch.
You can also ask me anything.
There is another session also, so it's not getting over.
Okay, it's going to be fine.
Thank you so much.